just an old man that hasn't been to a club for years that found himself in Ibiza in a club and was like, oh yeah, this is really good.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
Why are we talking about business networking in such a positive light, Dan? Has it got anything to do with the fact that we've recently got back from a business networking event in Ibiza?
I think it's important we address this because we're not just suddenly loving networking because we went to an event in Ibiza.
Are we though?
Well, no, we are. So we are kind of. It was brilliant. But I do feel like over the last year, we've kind of cracked the code of networking and doing it in a way that is, one, effective for our business, and two, is actually fun. Because we used to, well, I don't know you, I used to hate networking.
Oh, yeah, I definitely used to hate networking. I think main reasons I used to hate networking were people constantly pretending they're busy.
Yes.
So at the old networking groups I used to go to, it was basically this conversation every time. Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, busy. Bloody busy. And I'd be thinking, well, you've been to 7 networking meetings this week, so it doesn't sound like you're too busy if you've got time for that. But, you know, we came together with our common love of fried breakfast at those sort of meetings, so we had that in common.
I do think in those kind of networking things we did in the early days, everyone's trying to have some kind of perception that wasn't honest. Yeah. And to be honest, like being honest, I was probably part of that as well. I was naively doing that and thinking I've got to act like I'm really good at everything. But
I think that is why I feel so negatively looking back at those kind of networking groups back in the day. Because you just look back and I think like, oh, no one was being honest. It was all just, oh, I'm so busy and have a successful business. And like, oh, yeah, everything's going so well. Yeah. And I just know that it wasn't. It was just a bit awkward. And everyone, also like, I didn't go to as many of these ones, but there's like BNI, isn't there? It's one of the ones that's known for this, where like you have to get people referrals or whatever. And there was a bit of an element of that, some of the ones I went to, where people are almost pretending that they want to work with other people, or like pretending that they have a connect. Oh, I know a guy called Dave, actually. It'd be worth putting you in contact with. Yeah. He's got real synergy with you because he's does light bulbs and you have good ideas. So you should really meet up.
I remember actually contacting a few of those fake leads, and it's just awkward because the person you're contacting doesn't want to chat to you, but
they're just thinking like, oh, bloody hell, Steve's been referring me again at his networking meeting.
I do try to be slightly more positive before we go into our new approach of networking and stuff. I do think that there was I had some good experience of learning how to talk to other business people, and as a really like early business days when didn't have much experience, it kind of got me a bit of experience of talking about what we do and that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's some positive. I had some really good experiences of eating eggs and bacon.
Yes.
Knowing how to like fit that into your diet, doing that like 5 times a week. And there was definitely other people that had that.
And you got healed with some crystals at one networking event. Why does this always happen to you?
Yeah. That was the one where I feel like it wasn't very good because I kind of said to her like, oh yeah, I do feel better actually, and I think now she's just she's off healing people, saying, oh yeah, you should hear what I did to Lloyd. Yeah, he was in a terrible place and now I healed him.
So in general we've experienced bad networking, and I don't think we looked on it too favorably, but I feel like now, especially over the last year, we've gone to some incredible events and have been networking. Networking always sounds so wanky, doesn't it? But like,
yeah, I do cringe a bit every time saying it.
Like building relationships with people.
That's less cringy. Let's be authentic and build relationships, Dan.
But do you know what I mean? Getting out there and meeting people. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit better.
I feel like now we enjoy it and it's way more effective for our business. Why do you think that is? What's changed since?
I feel before with networking, we're going to the wrong types of things. And it felt like a waste of time, and it felt like, obviously using those wanky words again, like it felt like it was inauthentic relationships. So everyone was there, like we said, pretending, oh, I might have an opportunity for you, or like pretending to be interested in your business and stuff. Yeah. And I think now we've been to a few things recently that has like woken us up to networking again. and stopped eating fry-ups 3 times a week and started going to things where you actually have genuine relationships with people. And it sounds wanky even saying that, like genuine relationships, but we've actually been to things where I have come out of it feeling really positive and motivated, or feeling like I've really learnt some stuff. And I didn't get that from any type of networking for like probably a few years before that, and it really made me feel negative. I don't know, why do you think we're feeling more positive?
I think the main one is choosing the right things to go to that are actually good. I know there's loads of different things we're doing which we're going to talk through in this episode, but understanding how to choose the right ones and what you're looking for in a networking or an event that's going to work for you.
Yeah. I think also like I still don't get it right every time at the moment. I've still been to a couple of things recently where I come out of it like, oh, I'm not sure that was worth going to. Yeah. But I feel like I'm getting better at, like, most of the time now, coming away from things thinking that was actually genuinely really good, like either personally or for the business, like, oh, I think that has been a positive experience.
I think this is the important thing for anchors to understand. Like, I know we said we used to hate networking and stuff, but networking is such a good way to build relationships with other people in business that will help opportunities come your way.
Well, yeah, we've had loads of things where we didn't even know it would lead to something, and then like 3 years later, oh, we met that guy at that. Even one I went to recently, I went to an event more to learn things. It was for like other agency owners and stuff, and I wasn't kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to meet people to like generate leads or whatever. But this week we had a lead come through a guy that I just sat next to at the event. Yeah. So yeah, you never know where it's going to go. So Dan, let's get into the meat of the episode. That was just like a little starter, a little nibble, a bit of calamari. Can you give us a really good tip for networking?
I think this is going to
really be really helpful.
Yeah, one of my biggest ones is focus on going to events that other people that look like you go to. Now,
we wouldn't like different people.
No. This is a bit.
Dan doesn't like people from different cultures.
No, Lloyd.
No, that's just a joke, guys. No. He's a lovely person.
I mean, go to events with other people that do similar things to you.
Right.
Now, I naively used to think that all networking was about finding people that could potentially be your customer and to go and sell to them. I was that guy handing out business cards, handing out flyers at networking events.
I was that guy receiving business cards.
Yeah, you were the guy receiving business cards. And I that's really all I thought it was about. And I think that's why it didn't work very well in the early days, because everyone could smell that a mile off. Like, I was clearly just trying to get to know people to try and sell them stuff, which is quite cringe thinking about now. But like, over the years of doing lots of networking events, and especially the more recent ones, I've realized that you can gain huge value from going to events where other people who are facing similar challenges to you are going. Especially, there's a few key ones that stand out for me recently. Yes, the Agency Hackers IB for Super Summit we went to, which is really good.
It was all right, I suppose.
I thought that was so good because it was other people that run agencies like us, and they all have similar challenges and things. And we had loads of good conversations, and they were, other people were sharing how they were overcoming certain things. And
I came away from that one really motivated. Like, I think being around other ambitious people trying to achieve similar things that I am, or we are, that was really positive for me. I came away like feeling really good, because I think a lot of us in business, like, we don't necessarily have family or friends that understand what we're doing with the business, or like kind of are doing or feeling the same thing. So it was nice being around a load of people that get all of those things.
It was also, I found it motivating because I think I saw a few people who were quite a lot further along in their journey to us, achieving amazing things. And I kind of looked at them and had chats with them and thought, like, that we could be doing that. Yeah. It wasn't like the gap between us and them was so huge that like, oh, they're doing all this crazily different stuff that we could never do. It was like reassuring that they're further along, but we could get there.
I think it was that reassuring thing of like seeing what a lot of people see as more successful businesses or people or financially or anything like that, and then speaking to them and be like, oh yeah, we're doing the same things, we're on that journey too. There's not some magic thing they're doing that you don't know about. That was reassuring. And picking up the things from other people that like, oh okay, yeah, we'll carry on doing that, or we'll continue or we'll try doing that. And the opposite as well, of speaking to people and them having bad experiences or whatever, and learning the lesson of like, oh okay, well, they've made that mistake, so we won't bother. We can learn from that.
One thing that I wasn't expecting was some of those conversations you're talking about came. Some of those conversations I really enjoyed when it wasn't like in the actual event, because in Ibiza there was lots of opportunity to do things outside of being in a formal business event.
You like talking in the club? Didn't you?
we did talk in the club.
Yeah.
We did have a few conversations. Yeah, I mean, not by the end. Couldn't really talk much.
No,
but
couldn't breathe.
But no, it was, everyone felt like they let their hair down. You could ask kind of real, not juicy questions, but you could ask the truth about stuff from other agency owners, and you kind of got that really interesting insight. I also, another event I went to, Adobe Max in LA, because we're Adobe Express sponsor our podcast. Got to fly out there and go to their big event out there, which is really good. And there was lots of other people that weren't necessarily like marketing agency owners, but creators, and they ran their own businesses. And I got to have lots of interesting conversations about them creating content and what's working, what isn't. There was some much bigger creators with like millions of followers that I got to have conversations with throughout the day and asking them for little tips and tricks and things. And yeah, it was just nice to meet other people who have got a similar mindset doing similar things.
So you say you should go to more of those events where you'll meet people that have things in common with you and that kind of thing. So how do you identify those then?
Doing your research, I think. Like, I used to just book onto stuff that I thought, that sounds right, you go and do it. Whereas now, do a bit more research and like who's speaking at the event, what kind of audiences do they have, who are they going to be attracting, and you can even ask like the event organizer, what's your kind of demographic of your audience going.
I think I'm a lot more picky now. Like, if it doesn't look like the perfect thing for me to go to, I won't. Because I think I've, over the years, been to so many things that were a waste of my time. And I don't mean a waste of my time, like, I didn't win any business for those events. I mean, like, I came out of it feeling more negative than I did before I went in. Or
why do you think that is? What happens in the good ones that's different to the bad ones?
Well, that was my next point, really, wanted to make was, I feel like the good ones, I come out feeling like energized and really positive. I think this is how I kind of know now if it's been good or bad. And I come out, so like for Ibiza, for example, I came out really motivated and like was really ambitious after that, thinking like, oh, I've learnt a load of stuff. I've met a load of people that are achieving things that I want to achieve and that kind of thing. Had loads of energy. And I feel like I come out of the shit ones feeling drained. Like, and I don't know if it's that thing of, I think it's that almost like the inauthentic relationship thing. I think that drains you. If you're having to pretend in a way, like you were, oh yeah, this is great. And you're thinking like, oh, this has been so rubbish so far. You
definitely look like you had lots of energy. When we were in that club in the cave in Pikes, when you're at the front just with your hand in the air, just with the DJ there for like 2 hours, you look like you had lots of energy there enjoying yourself.
Well, that was because it was a good networking. That's why I was.
You thoroughly enjoyed that, didn't you?
I was. Well, I'm just an old man that hasn't been to a club for years that found himself in Ibiza in a club and was like, oh yeah, this is really good.
Do you remember? Just to tell a quick story, we went to this place called Pikes in Ibiza, and it's like I don't know how you describe it, Lloyd. It's like a big building with a restaurant and pools and.
Well, it was some guy in the 70s. His surname was Pike. And it was basically his house. He had a party house and he used to have like Freddie Mercury and random like celebrities there. And then eventually...
you got to have Lloyd Knowlton there.
Yeah, and then eventually Lloyd Knowlton paid to come in. Did we pay to go in? Yeah, I think we did.
We did pay to go in.
Yeah, so it was weird. It was a weird vibe, but it was... Oh, it doesn't sound really... It was a weird vibe, but in the club it was pretty cool.
Well, no, but we got there and you're outside and there's all these pools and stuff and it's all outside and there was music playing and we were there for a couple of hours and then... I thought we were going to leave soon, and then someone went, "Oh, have you been to the big cave downstairs with all the club?" And there was just thousands of people downstairs.
I was just in the cave next to the DJ. Yeah,
and then we went in the cave and stayed in there. That's
really good. But yeah, I think the compound effect as well of, so for example, coming away from that event, not just because we're in this club and stuff, but genuinely it was really good. The people we met and everything.
Felt energized.
Yeah, felt energized. Lots of ambition, wanting to move things forward, really motivated. I think the compound effect, if you can go to a few things like that a year, not go to Ibiza a few times, but go to a few events where you come out like thinking, oh, okay, great, I've learned this, I want to incorporate that into the business. Or like, oh, that's really good, I feel really motivated to keep going and do this now. I think the compound effect of that over the time is really, really positive if you think of like what are we going to achieve this year?
Yeah.
Whereas the opposite, if you're coming out of events feeling drained or feeling negative, I think that's your sign, right? I won't go back to that event next time, or I won't go back to that type of thing because it's not actually doing anything for me. Like
you say, I think you should kind of audit how you feel after each of these events. And then the simple thing is to just go back to the good ones each year. Like we're going to go back to a number of the ones we're going to talk about today next year. Yeah. Because we left feeling like good. Yeah. Well, and also, I know we keep mentioning Ibiza because it's hard not to, because that's obviously such a cool networking thing to do. But I saw in your notes you were talking about things that didn't look like traditional networking events. And I suppose that was what that was to me. Yeah. That's a good point. So another thing I've kind of learned over the years is you don't have to go to things that traditionally look like a networking event. We did the opposite when we started the business. We only went to the breakfast networking events that were literally called that. Whereas over the years, I've kind of realized networking, I know it sounds wanky, but it's all about building relationships, and you can build relationships in lots of different places. One of the ones that I always remember is earlier on this year, we got to go to BBC television studios to present some work we'd done for BBC Storyworks, and we got to kind of meet and network and engage and have conversations with other producers from the BBC, and it didn't look like a traditional networking event. But there's no way you would call it a networking thing. We got to have really good conversations and understand what their challenges are and what they're up to, and I think that's such a good point, because I feel like the things that are called networking events, it is a forced situation. Yeah. Everyone goes again, we will speak to each other and build relationships. I think because it's forced and fake like that, it means that actually a lot of it isn't authentic relationships you're building, and that's why you come away feeling drained and you feel like you haven't got anything from it, and it's a waste of time. Whereas I think actually these other things, so for example, went to a meal that was with other people from other agencies locally. Like, we're not selling to each other. We're not officially networking. It was just talking about things we had in common and that sort of thing. And that was really good. And those events where you're actually going like, oh, I'm going to this thing to learn from these people, or with their speakers that I want to hear what they have to say, then it feels like the networking is like a byproduct and it just happens naturally in the places it naturally would. Yeah. Rather than, okay, now you've got to sit with this person and have this conversation. I feel like part of it's a mindset thing. Part of it is changing your mindset to not be like I was when I started, that, networking or events is where you try and sell to people, and more, I'm going to try and gain some value by hearing from some cool speakers, understanding what challenges other people have had and how they've overcome them that's similar to me, or, so it's changing that mindset. Yeah. I think a really important thing as well that I'm starting to get better at is looking at the organizer's intentions as well, whether the organizer of the event is a person or a business. I think a lot of smaller businesses or people that are getting started in their business make the mistake of not kind of thinking about those intentions. So an example for me is that we get calls from this same events company all the time telling us, oh, we would love to have you speak at this event and you get to network and stuff, and then they're just actually selling you a $2,000. Yeah. Stand. You will have to pay £2,000 and you can put a banner up and then you can speak. So it's like thinking about that. Also, I went to an event recently I was really disappointed with, and I realized a lot of the speakers at the event, there was another income stream that the organizer had, and those people were involved in that kind of income stream. I can't be too specific, but name and shame.
No. And it was just like, oh, they're not good enough to be a speaker at this event. They're just there for other reasons. And it kind of just put a bit of a downer on everything.
Yeah, that's a bit shit.
It was just a bit disappointing. And so I think understanding those intentions, I think the good thing, so keep going back to Ibiza. You don't have to go networking in Ibiza. But I think that was the agency hackers kind of community or business, whatever they are. But I think the only way I don't know this, but I think the only way they make money is from events like that. So I think they have to make them really good. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not trying to upsell you a course on something, or once you've been to the event, or sell you something else. So it's like, I kind of see it as like, oh, they have to make this really good. Otherwise people won't continue to come back and book it. And I think they did. So
what patterns do you think, you mentioned some good events and some bad ones. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, what are the patterns we see or use, like, at the good ones that, all the good ones seem to have this, and this, or like, you mentioned agency hackers. What do you think they did well that stood out to you? Because they must have done something that was that a combination of things?
Like, one of the main things, I do think there's a massive correlation where there's forced networking things.
Right.
They're usually bad.
What do you mean?
No, as in, like, if you go
things?
to an event, you're like, oh, and then we're like, for this hour, you have to sit with these 3 people and speak about your business for 5 minutes. Then you're going to move to this table, then you're going to speak to them. Like, things that I've been to like that have usually been
dating.
rabbit. Yeah, because it's like, well, I don't want to be forced to speak to someone I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's much better when, like I said before, the networking isn't the main thing. So then there's something we're focusing on, and then we will naturally speak to people that we have things in common with and we'll get on with, because you're just being a human in an environment where there might be people around that would be good to network with. Yeah. I think that's really key for me. That's been a big pattern I've noticed. The more forced it seems, normally for me, the more negative it is. Yeah. But I don't know, do you agree with that or not? Maybe that's just me.
No, I do agree. I think a big part is the people that are going and their intentions as well. Because if you could go to an event that has that forced networking, but if it's all other people that have similar intentions to do, that aren't just there to sell, then you could get on. But
I suppose it is that having things in common, like we personally don't like going somewhere if, like, we wouldn't want to go and be like, right, we've got the goal of speaking to 12 people and the goal of booking meetings with 3 people to try and, but I know there's a massive part of the business community that's exactly how they would work. So I suppose it's different people are looking and wanting different things. So maybe if those people are in rooms with other people that act like
selling
that
to
and
each
want
other,
that, they would think that's good. But I suppose because I really don't like that, and that's not how I want to be. If I'm in the wrong room and there's lots of people like that, I don't feel like I get a lot out of it.
I think some anchors might be thinking though, like, to go to events, to go to networking, it's a time investment and a money investment, right? You've got to drive around places, you've got to get to places, you've got to spend your time doing it. So, like, I'm thinking if you've got a team of people and some of them are going to networking, you'd want to know what return are they getting. Like, I guess if our team were going out to networking events, what would we measure? Because you're saying don't try and get 10 meetings booked and 3 sales calls, and which I do agree with, because it makes it feel inauthentic. But then you've still got to think if it was worth it. I guess we're kind of anecdotally, we've had events recently where like, that was so worth it because we got to this, we found out that, we spoke to this person, we built a relationship with that person. Whereas some people want to be more measured, I guess.
It's hard, I guess, because my experience is in the long term, those good networking events are always a good thing. But you don't know that till in the long term, when you get an email 2 years later and they're like, oh, we met at this thing. But I would say if you're looking at it and you want to put more things in place to make sure it's worth it, I think it's more the before that you need to put things in place. So, I want to go to this event and I want to do this, some kind of form that needs to be filled in on something of like, okay, what sort of people do you hope to meet here? Or what do you hope to learn? What do you hope to get out of it? And just have a thing of like, okay, that does look like a sensible thing to go to. And know that some of them won't be worth it. You have to go to a few that won't be worth it to find the ones that are.
I think you've got to look for events that look fun as well. I think we've been so on 2 completely different extremes. The first extreme we started out was we went to the least fun, most businessy corporate networking events, and I feel like now we're going to much more things that like look fun and actually look interesting. But it's that balance, isn't it? Because like you say, it's money, it's time. You still need to do the research to know if it's something that is going to actually help you in the long run or not.
Let's go networking.
Any more tips, Lloyd, I guess, for those?
Well, now I would just say, Dan, I would just like you to act out the best way that people can start a conversation within a networking environment.
To act out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Off you go.
What would I do? I wouldn't act anything out. I remember going to an event where there was a speaker that taught you how to answer the question, what do you do and stuff.
Oh,
Have you heard those ones? And it was very Again, all these things that are very structured just tend to feel a bit...
Oh, do you know what's hard as well? When people have had the advice for networking where, because this is in a lot of books and things, where they're told, ask lots of questions. Like if you're interested in the other person, show you're interested, they'll come out of the conversation thinking it's been
it's a good strategy.
Because basically that person gets to talk about themselves and they feel great. And it's really obvious when you meet those people. Because they're like, so, tell me, what's been the best part of your week this week? And you're kind of like, oh, that's a weird start to a conversation. It's like, oh, I went to Nando's on Tuesday. And then they'd be like,
what's your favourite Nando's order?
Yeah, how spicy do you like? And then you try and ask them a question of kind of like, oh, so what business do you have then? And they're kind of like, well, more importantly, do you like Peronaise? And it's just very obvious that they're doing that thing of making sure they ask you loads of questions.
I remember going to one in Margate, one of those events, and they you really notice it when they keep asking you those same questions. I forgot what I was going to say.
But it's just that thing again of the more structure, even the more structured the conversation. If you're going in planning the structure of your conversation, you probably won't make as many authentic relationships as if you are just normal and yourself.
No, that was it. They so I went to an event in Margate and they keep asking the same questions and then not actually listening to your response. So you'd see that they'd ask a question about, oh, you go to Nando's, and then you'd answer them, but then they'd ask another question, nothing. You know, like you're supposed to.
Yeah. The two-way. Yeah, so it's like, and so what business do you have? And you talk about it, and then they're like, so do you know anyone here? And you think, oh, you haven't listened to anything I've... And what budget do you have to spend with my business? Like, hang on. You haven't listened to any of this. You've just been leading to the question that you're trying to sell me something. Or...
Yeah. I think ultimately anything where you've got that kind of structured strategy just feels a bit wanky. You should, like, I think my advice would be go to these kind of things with an open mind of like genuinely trying to build relationships. I know it sounds silly, but actually just show an interest in people and don't go there with some kind of strategy to try and book meetings and calls because it's just so obvious.
I think that's exactly it. Don't go with this forced thing that you've got to be someone else that you're not. Go being you, and then that event for you might not be the right thing. It might be for other people, but if you go as yourself then and come out of it thinking like, oh, that was horrible, then don't go back to that one. Find a group of people that you will want to engage with and will motivate you and you'll have things in common. Don't feel like you have to go back to that one and have this structure of questions you've got to ask and book a load of sales calls in.
And if you're interested in hearing some of those funny stories, episode 1 of this podcast, literally the first episode we ever did, we spoke about networking and we shared some of those stories of Lloyd being healed with crystals and various other things. So if you want to go give that a listen, then enjoy.
Was it episode 1 that I spoke about the guy that told me we all have to drink more milk because the cows will explode if we're vegan?
It might have been.
Or it might have been a later one.
But no, to quickly tell us, Lloyd, what
no, it's just the story is at a networking group and the guy just said to me, well, of course, we couldn't all be plant-based because the cows would actually explode.
And he wasn't joking.
No, he wasn't joking. It was very serious. So I didn't go back to that one. Actually, I did for about 2 years. Cool.
So thanks for listening, guys. If you have enjoyed this, please do subscribe.
Yes.
Wherever you are listening to this, subscribe.
The next episode is going to be about morning routines. So we're going to teach you the best morning routine, like Mark Wahlberg. So you get up at 4:30 and you go to the gym, do cryotherapy, all that type of thing.
It's not going to be cringe, though. We're going to talk about how cringe it is and how everyone can have a different morning routine.
Yeah, I think it will be cringy. Most of them are.
We'll see.
We'll see. You in your ears next week.
Time.
Not next week. Next time. Next episode.
Just before you go, we want to take a second to talk about our podcast sponsors, Adobe Express. Adobe Express enables anyone to quickly and easily create standout social graphics, logos, flyers, banners, and more on the web and mobile. There are so many amazing features and benefits to using Adobe Express. You can choose from thousands of beautifully designed templates to inspire you and get started. You can quickly remove a background, convert JPEG to PNG, videos to GIFs, merge videos, change video speeds, and more. Apply your brand to your content in just a tap, and collaborate with your colleagues through shared templates and libraries. You'll also get access to the entire diverse, royalty-free Adobe Stock photo collection created by the world's best professionals and choose from over 20,000 licensed Adobe fonts, as well as their collection of curved typesets, grids, and exquisite font pairings. You can apply standout photo effects in seconds, discover easy bite-sized tips to get you started on the Learn tab, or connect on one of their creator community spaces to stay close to our team and fellow users. Now that's a lot of features to get your teeth into. Click the link in the description of the episode to give Adobe Express a go today, and we'll see you next week.